man. Do me a favor, right?
What is up? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. Welcome to another episode of the Stay Rich in Spirit podcast. I have a guest with us today, very special, very rare. I have Nicole Rapley from Circa Sense. I've known Nicole for years. We went to undergrad together. Shout out to Bowie State University. Since then, she's went on to do amazing things. And I'm super excited to have her on the show today. Nicole, hey, what's up?
What's going on? How are you?
I am so beyond blessed. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to have you here. You know, what's been going on with you?
You know, living, learning.
Yeah.
Running my business, evolving, all those good things.
Yeah, I would say the word that I will always hold synonymous with you is growth. Every time I speak to you, I always see like a concerted effort to like grow in some area, some way, shape, fashion, or form. And we was talking about like different topics that we could talk about when you finally did come on the show. Of course, we're long overdue, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's been a long time coming.
Word. And you brought up you sent me a video and you said maybe we should talk about the economy of attention, the attention economy. What drew you to that subject?
Me, life.
Yeah.
So you've known me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know I'm telling the truth when I say that prior to having my business, in 2020, I started Circa. Prior to that, I didn't really have a social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
I had a personal page, but there wasn't really much on there. I didn't post much. Never really been big on Twitter or anything like that. Kind of just mind my business. I would go on, see what's going on in the world, shop, and then get off.
Yeah.
But once I started running my business, I needed that presence, you know? And the other day, I caught myself doing something that wasn't in the norm for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to sit down and really think about it. And I realized I was doing it for attention.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, yo, I think I'm addicted to attention.
Addicted to attention. That's
addicted
real.
to attention. And my whole thing was, and I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
You know? And so instead of, you know, just being ashamed or anything, I was like, yo, let me share this because I'm about to have to work through this. And I want to be transparent about it because I know I'm not the only person that's going through this.
That's real. So when you talk about not being the only person, first of all, what is the attention economy?
So once I started diving deeper into it, I realized that, you know, it's just a byproduct of what's actually happening. And because of social media and these platforms, what has become the scarcity, like the scarce resource, is our attention. How much attention we're spending on certain platforms, how much attention we are spending on certain videos, what ideas are getting clicks, things of that nature. So anytime, you know, things are scarce, you're going to have people competing for the attention of it, for, you know, the bulk of that. And so the attention economy is literally the pretty much the construct of how all of that is being orchestrated, and the fact that our time and attention is literally the new commodity.
Our time and attention is literally the new economy. And I was thinking about that when I watched the video. I actually played the video in my communications class, and they were really drawn to it because it's become a way to also program. It's a way to divert people. You gain. So when we talk about the attention economy, we break it down into like social medias, but then we also break it down into like video platforms like YouTube, Netflix, and people who just benefit off of your attention. Like if you see your favorite television show, if you see your favorite, even your favorite movie, whatever you're watching, when you see your favorite version of it, or everybody just watched the Super Bowl and Rihanna's performance, when you have that many people paying attention to one thing, the way that these companies make money is to divert that attention to different companies that are looking for you to consume their service or product. So then those companies also use all of the different models and history and information they have on the art of persuasion and rhetoric to convince you to not only divert your attention to what they're selling you, but to also persuade you to remember them or to embed it into your subconscious. And it's something that was very interesting. So I looked at it from a corporate level, but then I also was tasked to look at it from a personal level too, where it's like I want to garner attention from people. For what reasons, though? What do you think some of the main reasons why people are so seemingly addicted to attention?
So there's two ways you can take that because I looked at it in two different avenues. When I started thinking about myself and started, getting introspective with it, and I had to look at it as one. This whole narrative now, especially for small business owners, is that you are your brand. So literally the same way these companies are using these things, if you identify yourself as a brand, you're a company. So you want that attention too. You want that attention to talk about your products, to talk about, the things that you care about, to get all the things that you want to express across and get people to whether or not you want to persuade them or you just want to inform them. You're following that same construct. And so that's one way. And the second way is just because has become a commodity. And anytime something is a commodity, people want it. So whether or not I really have anything to give you once I get your attention, the fact is I got your attention and your attention was what I wanted. It's almost, you could look at the exchange for a dollar. If a company, wants your attention for monetary gain, a person wants your attention, not even just for the money, but for the energetic exchange. And we'll even, get even deeper to that. But your attention is still an energetic exchange.
And energy is a currency.
And I personally think that money is one of the lowest forms of energy exchanges. So now we're talking big business. Now we're talking about, your person, your time, your energy, your thoughts. Like that's a lot more to me than just, a physical monetary type exchange.
That's definitely, I can definitely see that. When I think of just back to this, like this idea of the attention economy and this idea, I like what you're saying about this idea that you are your brand, because I've always trifled with that, where it's like, when you telling me that I am my brand, people would tell me that a lot early on in my career. And it was like, so you're telling me that I need to bring attention on myself and then divert that attention or transition that attention to people being interested in the things that I do. And I didn't really feel comfortable with that. I still don't feel comfortable with it, because I am not my brand. Like, I am not my brand I am a brand, but I am not my business. You know what I mean? Like, I brand myself, and I don't even say I brand myself. I just move with a certain intentionality, and that intentionality becomes my reputation, you know? So it's not necessarily a branding. It's like, this is my authentic self, and this is how I want people to remember me. Right. But that's different than me, like, purposefully exposing different aspects of my life to bring attention on to myself and then selling products and services based on that attention that I've garnered. Like, I think it's become very problematic. And the interesting thing is people are nosy. Like, and that's the flip side to it. It's like when I go on social media, which I'm finding myself doing less and less of, and you're just scrolling. The video show me, so it's a reason why platforms like Instagram and YouTube have an endless scroll. An endless scroll where you're constantly watching other people's lives and what they're doing and what they have going on. And then you would notice that when that same person posts something about their business or their brand, they don't get the same level of engagement as they get if they're posting themselves half naked, or if a guy's posting himself like spending money frivolously, or like doing all of the things that you see in the average rap video, but making it look like this is a part of my regular life. And that's a problematic thing. It's kind of like we're breeding different character traits in people to appeal to what they think will bring attention versus just being yourself. Like, it's becoming who you are when no one is watching is becoming less and less relevant in the minds of our children because it's all about who you present yourself to be to the world now. And it's something that I'm just not wholly confident, comfortable with, especially now that I'm like educating these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, where it's like, what is your identity aside or detached from the world?
You know what that makes me think of? It's like Jay-Z been telling us this for a minute when he says, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, and the thing about it is it's such a slippery slope because I found myself on it. And I am my brand. And I say that because it's not like my business is set up as a business and then I'm operating the business. My business is literally an extension of my life.
Yeah.
It's an extension of my spiritual journey. It's an extension of the ascension that I'm experiencing. As I get to different levels, I have different product offerings. And so, in that sense, I am learning to really figure out what information is relevant and what information I do need to keep private, but still hold the integrity of my brand and still give the consumers that are a part of my brand what they're looking for. Because a lot of the appeal of my brand is the fact that they're learning with me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm honest, the fact that I'm honest about, even this subject in general, where I'm talking about the attention, the fact that I caught myself wanting that attention and was about to do something that I normally wouldn't do to get it.
Uh-oh.
Right. No shame in my game. God has blessed me with a beautiful body and no shame to how anybody chooses to, to show or expose or whatever, whatever word you want to use. But at the same time, that's always been something that I've kind of held close to me. I've never really been one to seek attention from my body. One, because I found out earlier in life that it's unfulfilling. Because I'm a free thinker. I'm a philosopher. So it's like the attention I get from my body or my physicality, normally the people who are attracted to that don't have the capacity, to really hold my attention. So it's like, I don't want you to be attracted to me from my body, because then what can we talk about if that's all, you're attracted to, or I'm so much more than that. So I don't even want that to be the first thing, that's garnering your attention. But I found myself slipping into that because I see it works. When you are putting out quality products, quality content, and your numbers are they're decent. I'm thankful for them. But I know that, if I held some crystals in a bikini, my numbers would look a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be fake about that, And at the same time, I still am in business. So, of course, I am going to want to be profitable.
That's real. But at the same time, like, it's people you can pay for that.
For sure, but they not me.
I mean, they not you, but like a part of me feels is like, we are meant to share the parts of us that'll help someone else. Like we hold sacred the things we hold sacred, but the things that we contain and the things that we possess that'll help someone else, get to the next stage or to evolve in some way or to get them through something. Like we're supposed to share those things, But like when it comes to my brand, and the reason why I think it's a distinction between myself and my brand and myself and my business is that the most successful people I know they're completely detached.
Right.
They're 1,000% detached. Like when we start getting into these Fortune 500 companies, they are completely detached. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're 1,000% detached. And mind you, they're still using all the vehicles of persuasion that we see working on an everyday basis, whether it be attractive women, sex sales, whether it be like depictions of success in the most opulent and aesthetically pleasing ways. They're using all of those things, but they don't feel the need to place themselves in that space. You know, so like, how do we reach that level of business? Like, because my whole thing was, and is I'm trying to escape a slave mentality. And when I say I'm trying to escape a slave mentality, I'm saying I'm trying to escape looking at my value as being connected to my physicality. You know, oh, you can, how much cotton can you pick? How many children can you bear? Oh, look at her hips. Like, these are all of the things that used to determine all of the things that the people who oppressed us for 500 to 5,000 years did to determine our value. It was no thinking about, oh, this person is intellectual, this person is a philosopher, oh, this person is spiritually aligned, or all of those other types of value were never things that were prompted up. But on the other side, you saw those things being very much valued in the worlds and in the customs and in the society of value for our oppressors. Like, you know, it didn't matter what that person looked like. You look at the average banker and they don't look like Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? Like, they don't look like, they don't look like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, Wolf of Wall
You know what I
Street.
mean?
Yeah,
Like, they
yeah.
look like the what's the other dude name? That's not Seth Rogen. The dude.
Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill.
They look like Jonah Hill. You
Why
know
did
what I
I
mean?
know you was talking about
They look more like Jonah Hill than, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking about. So like, what is this? It's something else. Like,
Right.
it's not about the numbers for real, because the thing that's gonna get you the numbers is this thing up here. Like,
Sure.
you can brainstorm and your brain is gonna get you further than your body every time. Why? Because your brain is not limited by time and space. Like, you can time travel here. Like, you can look into the future here, you know, and with your heart and with your spirit, you know. Like, how do I tap into those things? Like, how do I get away from just thinking that like my value is attached to what I can do with my hands, or how appealing people find me, or the amount of attention I can garner by actions that I do? Because then my agency no longer is for me, it's for y'all.
And that's another thing that, you know, you have to acknowledge when you're talking about attention, is a lot of it's for validation and acceptance. You know, it's not just the eyes on me aspect. It's, I want you to not only see me, but I want you to say what I'm doing you like. I want you to validate my experience. I want you to validate my looks. I want you to validate my thoughts. And that brings on a whole nother level to it, because then you have to ask, what are people willing to do to get the attention?
Yeah.
What are they willing to do to get that validation? And are people really creating just to create and put something out there? Because I was talking about this the other day, that there's a difference between creating something and allowing others to enjoy it versus creating something to get the validation from others. Because then you have to ask yourself, well, who's creating the validation standards? And that's who's really benefiting off your energy. It's not like I'm just using my energy to create these things that I want to put out into the world and add these things to the consciousness. It's whatever is controlling the narrative, I'm feeding that my energy by creating things that are going to flow through that. And so my kind of keyword was, are you creating for source, or are you an energy source? And that question, you know, I had to sit with that for a little bit. And it's kind of been the way that I've been filtering, you know, my content is, am I creating this, you know, for the from the collective consciousness, you know what I'm saying? So people can be enlightened and know, or am I creating this because I know it's going to garner the attention that I want? And if it is going to garner the attention that I want, I have to ask myself, all right, is it genuine intention, or is it because I'm flowing within the guidelines of other parameters that have been set? And if I am, then the question is, who set those parameters? Because at that point, you know, they're kind of in control. Even though it feels like I'm in control, I'm really just feeding into the system that they set up.
That's real, because the dangerous pitfall to getting attention is then becoming addicted to keeping it. You know, and when you're trying to keep something and you're trying to maintain something, especially with anything vain, you know, because we all age, you know, everything is not going to look the same as it used to. So then you start seeing people who are willing to go through extremes to maintain the level of attention they used to get based on the way that they used to look, or the way that how they look used to be perceived, you know? So it's like, what can you maintain? Like, what pace can you keep? You know, like, this is a distance run. Like, I think sometimes we get trapped in that sprint. Like, oh man, I need something. I need a pickup, you know, where it's really like, don't fall into the trap. That's my advice to everybody. Don't fall into the trap, man, women, whatever, however you designate yourself, don't fall into the trap. You can live a life for you, you know, like, and I'm not knocking people who just love to share like their physicality. Like, I'm not opposed to it, you know, but I'm also saying we have to explore the whys. We have to explore and dive into the whys. Like, why isn't it enough for me to appreciate myself, and for the people who are intimate with me to appreciate it? Why is it that I must receive this level of engagement from strangers over things that literally don't speak nothing about my character, my essence, or my spirit?
And so, just even to build on the fact that you were saying, like, you see, what are people going to do to keep that attention? Like, you get addicted to the attention. And I had ended up going to a conference it was like an adult industry conference. And
talk about it.
The body modifications that I saw, I couldn't understand it, because I'm like, I understand a little nip and tuck, a little lift, you know what I'm saying? A little add here, subtract here. I get that, you know what I mean? But some of the stuff I saw was like, that doesn't even look normal. Like, do you think that looks good? But then I started to realize it's not about looking good. It's literally about the attention. It's not that I'm trying to replicate like this super nice physique. I'm going to go outrageous with it because I want the attention of having a 70-inch, you know what I'm saying? Can I cuss?
Yeah, sure.
Ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, you know, oh, I just want you want the attention of it. And once I started to understand that, it made sense. Because I'm like, yeah, you definitely get a lot of attention with double Z titties. You know what I mean?
Word.
And so those extreme modifications under the lens of the attention that they garner made complete sense.
Well, that's why the extremes is so important, because at first you have to chase the herd that's gaining this type of attention. And then once you catch up to this herd, now I have to distinguish myself from the herd, because I don't want to get lost in this pool of everybody who has the same niche as me. Like, if my niche, I gotta be the outlier. So like, if my thing is my big ass breast, then now I need bigger breasts than everybody else who got big breasts.
Right.
Like, if my need is my big old booty, then now I need a bigger booty than everybody who's got a big booty. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's never about like self-improvement. Like, it's never about self-improvement. It's about, again, distinguishing myself from others. Like, it's not something for me. It's, again, my value in connection to the people around me.
And that can be applied to so many other things, because you see it in, like, you know, if everybody's spending money, if everybody's flexing, I'm flexing the hardest.
I got to flex the hardest.
Like, oh, all right, like, you got this, I'm pulling up in that.
Oh yeah, you bought a Wraith. Okay, I need a Wraith with Louis Vuitton interiors. Oh, you got a 11,000 square foot mansion. Okay, I need a 15,000 square foot mansion. Like, I don't need it though. I don't need it. I don't necessarily need it, right? No, I don't need it. I just need people to think that I have it.
Right.
Like,
right.
I don't necessarily need this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I just need people to think that I have it. And that is what is the mind part. But I wanted to transition real quickly
Okay, cool.
because you definitely you posted something on, you had sent a story that you posted online, and I was going to take a quick second to find it
Okay.
and read it for the people
Okay.
because we got so much people responding to it. That garnered a lot of attention.
Really? I love that. I
Yeah,
love
a
that
lot
people
of
are
people
paying
were
attention.
like
That's
eager to hear more about that topic. So I
okay.
don't want to disappoint those people because I think it is something very, very worth sharing. So I'm going to read what you highlighted. And this is called The Ethics of the Attention Economy, The Problem of Social Media Addiction by Vikram Bhargava and Manuel Velasquez from Santa Clara University. And they started off saying, social media companies commonly design their platforms in a way that renders them addictive. Some governments have declared internet addiction a major public health concern, and the World Health Organization has characterized excessive internet use as a growing problem. Our article shows why scholars, policymakers, and the managers of social media companies should treat social media addiction as a serious moral problem. While the benefits of social media are not negligible, we argue that social media addiction raises unique ethical concerns not raised by other more familiar addictive products such as alcohol and cigarettes. In particular, we argue that addicting users to social media is impermissible because it unjustifiably harms users in a way that is both demeaning and objectionably exploitive. Importantly, the attention economy business model of social media companies strongly incentivizes them to perpetrate this wrongdoing.
Yeah. And once I really started getting into it, at the end of the day, like addiction, a lot of times I think we think of all these things as just like abstract theories and constructs. It's like, oh, addiction to social media. You don't think of the actual implications,
Uh-huh.
the physical implications, what's happening in your body when we are saying that you are addicted to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually scientifically proven that when you see certain things on social media, it releases dopamine in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like chemical reactions are happening when you are on these platforms. And because I don't think people actually realize what all is entailed in these things, the damages of them aren't really known as much because you're thinking of direct things like smoking, your lungs, and all this stuff. And it's like, no, what your thoughts actually have impressions on your physicality. So when you're looking at things and comparing yourself, comparison is the thief of joy. You're comparing yourself, you're getting in spaces where you might be feeling desperate or hopeless or depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are actually impacting how your body is reacting. That those things are actually making you sick. Those things are actually reacting with your DNA. And so when they talk about, the effects of it, it's like, yeah, real things are happening in people's minds and bodies. This isn't just, oh, for the sake of saying you're addicted, you're addicted. It's like, no, they can put you under a CAT scan and see who has a lot of screen time and who doesn't.
Yes.
So I think that it's really important for people to just kind of understand the implications of it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give a quick definition of dopamine.
Okay.
'Cause,
I'm just throwing it around there
these
like,
words, these words be getting crazy. These words be 9, 10 later. So, what does dopamine do to a person? What is the role of dopamine? Dopamine is responsible for allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. When you feel good that you have achieved something, it's because you have a surge of dopamine in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens when you have the satisfaction of achieving something, but yet you're doing nothing that is necessarily bettering you?
Mm-hmm. And what happens when you don't have it?
Hey, what happens when you don't have it, right?
You
So it's like, what then you get when you get satisfaction from doing something that doesn't when you get satisfaction from from something that, or even if you, when you receive satisfaction from things that do not necessarily bring you joy. When you receive satisfaction from things that don't really bring you joy, C.K. Lewis said, you know, the thing about social media is it doesn't really make you happy and it doesn't really make you sad. You know what I mean? Like you're just somewhere where, oh, this kind of makes me happy or this kind of makes me sad. Then you get a real detachment from the things that really bring you happiness and the things that really make you sad. Like, so it's like, when we generate this dopamine release, it loses value of the authentic dopamine release we get from actually doing things in the world. You know, so it's like these representations of these fake imposters of joy block us from actually doing things that might actually bring us joy in the future.
Oh yeah, and it's all by design because like when you really understand it, so one of the major frequencies and energies that help you release dopamine is love.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's no coincidence that the like symbol on almost every platform is a heart. You know, there's a lot of thought that's going into these things, that has went into these things. It's not, you know, ironic at all. Like this is all by design. They're giving people a false sense of love and like. If somebody likes your picture, it's not because they love you. It's not because they necessarily want to get to know you or they care about you. It's not that they're liking your picture because, you know, there's some type of super secret admirer and they want to help fulfill all your dreams and they want to know what you think of. Nah, you just look good. If even you really look good for real. We're not even gonna get into that. You know, it's a commodity and people like what they like. And sometimes, you know, you just in the right spot at the right time. But at the same time, it doesn't deny the fact that somebody does get something from that. There is a dopamine release when, you know, you look down at your phone and it looks like 3,000, 100,000 people like you. So I'm not going to negate that experience because that is a very real experience, you know, for the people on the other end of that.
Yeah, and I'm not here to bash social medias because I do think it's a value to be able to stay connected to people and to find talented people that exist in the world and to follow their lives and to follow their stories. There's nothing wrong with that. My issue is that there's an intentionality to disconnect you from real life. You know, so that it's an intentionality to create like this disassociation, this depersonalization with the people around us and our inner selves. And that is really what I'm just cautioning people against. Like, I want us to get back to using these things as tools and not vices. You know, I want us to use these things as ways to enhance our messages or enhance our talents and not necessarily be the talent. Like, and be the enhancement, like, you know, because it still comes down to you. Like,
Right.
who are you? Like, who are you? If you are an amazing, talented human being or you have a gift that you want to share with the world, yes, have that gift, share that gift with the world. But now we're realizing that people gift is more so the sharing and not necessarily the talent. Like,
And that's going to get even trickier now because, you know, the thing about these systems is when you start understanding the design of them and how they're rolling things out, because at the end of the day, we talking about being a talent. The talent isn't even about to be necessary in a little bit because we about to have the rollout of AI.
yeah, straight up. I mean,
know what
AI
I
is
mean?
already here. Algorithm is an AI.
So, and now we're talking about like consumers really having the access to generate these things at their fingertips, and like creators can use it. So you don't even really need the talent anymore.
But let's take a quick aside about this AI
Okay,
thing,
okay.
right? Because we're trying to make AI seem autonomous, but really it's disguising the people who are manipulating the world from the power that they contain. Like AI is a vehicle used by the powers to be to stir audiences in directions, to stir the masses, the herd in the directions that they want them to go. Like,
Right.
so it's not necessarily about, oh, everything is going to become automated. It's like, no, the same destructive, the same coercive, the same manipulative practices that have been going on for hundreds and thousands of years. Now those practices are going to become automated, so as though it does it by itself and it adapts by itself. You know, like I talked to a group of people in a speech about how racism has transitioned from being something that was direct and overt to something that is now indirect, covert, and instant. So it was direct, overt, and individual to something that has become covert, institutional, and covert, institutional, and indirect.
Right.
But now it's becoming automated.
Right.
Now things like racism, things like what's the body thing that people be talking about?
The body thing.
Like the I'm gonna just call it bodyism. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like we're promoting certain body types, and then other body types we're kind of like shunning off. It's like, this is not
Body positivity,
body
ableism.
positivity.
Okay,
Yeah,
ableism,
all of these
all
things
those-
like that.
all the
Like all of
isms.
these things are going to become automated. Where like now we are really going to be able to validate certain images of beauty, certain images of intellect, certain images of everything as the norm.
Right.
Like, and all of the other things will fall by the wayside. So when we start getting into our favorite musicians, and we start getting into our favorite artists, and we start getting into like even our favorite TV shows, if you are not a part of the system, then you will not get the same type of recognition or the same type of battery in your back as you would back in the day. Before, you needed to sign a deal. Now you really need to get in bed with the algorithm to have a chance.
Taking it even a step further, I was talking to somebody about this, and I was like, be careful for AI celebrities. Because especially in the midst of cancel culture, what happens when it's, some type of character that's not even real is spilling all this rhetoric, and you can't even cancel them. There's no human repercussions for it. You know what I'm saying? So but the rhetoric is still out there.
The rhetoric is still out there. Or what happens when these people, like, because the first AI rapper to get a record deal, you heard about
that
it?
was wild.
That was super wild. Like,
didn't they drop him? Didn't the label
they
drop
had
him?
to drop him because he created an entity that could give you this rhetoric. Certain rhetoric is okay if it comes from a certain entity. You know, it's like the whole black people can say the N-word and no one else can, right? But if it's AI, I can be someone from a completely different ethnical background, and I can create someone that has all of the appeal of your ethnicity, and now is allotted all of the permissions of someone from your community.
They already did it. Remember, it was like maybe like 2 years ago, that scandal of that. It was like a white European man created like this AI Sudanese model and was getting paid, like doing deals with major fashion houses. And they're like, dog, you a white man. How are you making money off the image of this tall black Sudanese archetype? So it's already happening.
It's about to transition into a thing of infiltration and cultural appropriation to a level that we have never witnessed in history. Never would, because people can hide behind it. Like, people can hide behind it. I never forget the first lesson I learned about technology, which is computers are as smart as the people who use them. Like, AI is as powerful as the intention of the people behind who created it. I feel like if we have the world solvers and all of these people, if these were the brain children behind AI, then we wouldn't be talking about the algorithm or creating the algorithm and the value of the algorithm to be social media.
Right.
Like it's other areas in the
Right.
world where we could be using these types of brain,
Right.
these type of
International
innovation,
development and stuff.
international
Right.
development. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we should be using this level of innovation to solve different problems. But yet things that are just used on a social level is literally, again, it's all about the programming, reprogramming, and distortion of reality in the brains of the people that exist in the everyday world. And in a couple of generations from now, it's going to be a complete disassociation of people and their community, because you're not going to know what is an authentic component of your community and what is just something embodying what they perceive about your community and using it to stir your attention towards whatever product that they see fit for your community. Like, I don't got to put the liquor store on your block no more.
Right.
Like, I don't have to put the liquor store on your block. I'm going to put the liquor store in your algorithm.
Right.
Like,
You can just order it.
you're going to be looking for the liquor.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you ain't even got to go to the liquor store. You don't even need a 40. Like, you don't even need malt liquor at your grocery store. Like, I'm going to make it so that's all you want. I'm going to make it so that's all you. It's that McDonald's commercial. You never want it until you see the nuggets, like, being dunked into some other stuff, and LeBron James and Cardi B and all set sitting across the joint having a romantic dinner. Like,
I be getting offended.
watch next Valentine's Day. You start seeing couples going to McDonald's.
Nah, I be getting offended because I be like, who do you think I am that you think that you can put Offset and Cardi B across from each other over a fish fillet and that's gonna make me want it? Like, I'm offended.
Facts.
I'm offended.
But then when you realize that that's not for you, that's for that 12-year-old. That's for that 13-year-old. That's for that 5-year-old who loves Happy Meals. Like,
right, which is scary in itself because it's like, at 5, what do you know about Offset and Cardi B? Their content is not for a 5-year-old. That's another conversation.
but again, it's all of the powers that be working together to promote what they need, what they want people to value in the future, you know. And there's nothing wrong with them people, you know what I mean? Like, I love me some Cardi,
But I'm grown.
you know, like
and I have the discernment, you know what I mean, to differentiate what's real life, you know.
Yes.
So that's the important piece. You have to be cognizant of what's real and what's not. And when you have this level of exposure and access to so many demographics that aren't able to distinguish the two, it gets scary. It gets scary because I always think about like what it's like for these kids to grow up in the age of social media. Like, I'm so glad I didn't have all this access when I was like 10, 11, 12. Because unless I was like really on some child prodigy, you know what I mean? And I was using the tools weren't using me. It's so much pressure on these kids now. They got TikToks and you're not even worried about being the flyest at your school no more. You worried about being like the flyest everywhere because you have the whole world as your arena now. You have TikTok. You got 15, 10-year-olds that have hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, do you know the mental fortitude and the development that you should have to be able to have that type of popularity? Like,
when I was 10, when I was 10 years old, I was still taught not to talk to strangers. I was still being taught not to talk to strangers. Like, how in the world can you be comfortable with hundreds of thousands of people liking your child's image? Like, putting hearts on your child's adults.
okay.
Like, adults.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like, we're losing it. Like, we're losing it. We're losing every sense of value that we have built up over these past 10,000 years of our evolution in this world. Like, it's all being lost. And we don't understand that we're losing it to the same people who traveled across the Atlantic, kidnapped us, and brought us over here. Is the same people who, now that we are here, are trying to re-enslave us so that they can continue to use the value of our bodies for their own means and their own profits. Like, it has not changed. Like, nothing has changed. I really want people to understand this and grasp this concept. Nothing has changed. Like, we're just creating a new plantation, and the new plantation is digital now. The plantation is digital, and we're willing participants in it.
That's the part.
We're becoming slaves to it, and we don't even recognize it. Well, you can spend hours on hours on hours on hours in a day minding other people's business while your business is not in order.
Okay.
You spend all of your life focused on other people's lives and the rest of it complaining about yours. In what world does that make sense?
Not one.
I want everybody to turn off your damn phones and start focusing on the things that you can control in your own life.
After you finish the podcast, though.
After you finish the podcast. On the real, if you turn this podcast right off, because I don't do this for that.
Right. I ain't
Like,
mad at it.
I swear to God, I don't do this for that. Like, I didn't start a podcast. I really started this podcast because one day I'm going to have children and I want to teach all of the lessons that I have in my mind to them after I'm gone. Because I know I'm not going to be here forever. Like, I know I'm not going to be here forever. And what I leave behind matters to me. Not to the strangers, but to the people who know me and the people who will want to know me in the future after I die.
Mm-hmm.
But that don't matter to nobody no more. Everybody just trying to live their best life.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't understand, life is forever. Like, life lasts forever. You never die. Energy does not die. We started this conversation talking about the energy exchange. Mm-hmm. But once you put out energy into the world, it is an indestructible force that will not die. What is that force? What is the intention behind that force? What is that intention behind that post? Like, why do you do the things that you do? These are the questions I ask. This is what I'm asking when I see different things being promoted to me. What is the purpose of this? What is this thing is going to last forever? Like, what is the purpose of this thing? What is the power behind this thing? Everything has a power and a function. Everything has a power and a function. What is the functionality of this agency? What is the functionality? What is the power of this action? How will this thing be remembered that I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And then that really starts bringing your mind into this. You really start thinking intentionally at that point.
For sure. And I think that was the beautiful thing. Even just coming to the realization, like how I got here, and I was just like, yo, I'm addicted.
Yeah.
And it's not the worst thing. It's now what am I going to do about it now that I'm cognizant of it? Because I'm not going to stop using the internet.
Hell no.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to stop posting on the gram. And I'm not even going to say that, some attention here or there is not going to, you still want what you want. But it's about knowing what's going on so that you can make conscious decisions about how you want to move. Yeah. The intentions behind what kind of attention do you want? What kind of attention are you trying to garner? You know what I mean? And if you do get the attention, what you going to do with it? Because transmutation is a thing.
Yes.
So it's like, I always say one of the energy geniuses out here is Beyonce.
Shout out to Mother B.
You can say what you want, but the way that she alchemizes and transmutes energy is unreal. Mm-hmm. Whether you talking about how you love her or you hate her, it's all energy you sending her way, and she's building an empire with it.
Real talk. But then you look at a person like Beyonce, and you look at the level of intention every moment in her career has had.
Oh, we're not even going to get into that because that's a whole nother conversation.
But I love it though. Like, I love it where it's like,
yeah, big.
It's so by design. You know what I mean?
Very.
Like, she did not get to her position by happenstance.
Not at all.
Like, it's all by design. Like, and it was all built. It was messaging built on top of each other.
For sure. Big
Like,
B, her people from New Orleans. You start looking into Beyonce stuff. Look at the what's going on astrologically when she released stuff. Look at
mhm.
the numerical values. Look at the imagery, the colors. Like
And her
B don't be
ancestry.
playing. B don't be playing.
B don't be playing. Like
No
B don't be
games.
playing. Hove Eva, Hove Jay-Z the same way. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
so much from Reasonable Doubt on. It's so much intention behind every album, every venture, like how he
Hmm.
pivots from every failed venture, like how he pivots from one thing to another. Like, I'm one of the biggest Jay-Z fans in the world. And it has nothing to do with like him as a human being. It's just more so the intention behind how he operates and how he moves.
Okay.
Like if I can put that same level of intention behind what I'm doing, then it's nothing. I'm an unstoppable force. You know what I mean? Like, it's no one's going to stop me from manifesting the things that I want out of life.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like, that's the blueprint. That was the blue. That's what the blueprint meant to me. Like,
Okay. Right.
the blueprint meant to me is how can you design your life? Like, how can I design the life that I want for me?
Hmm.
You don't have to be exactly like me. Your design doesn't have to be connected to wealth. It doesn't have to be connected to cars. It don't have to be connected to entertainment. But how can I design a life that I want, a life that's aesthetically pleasing to me?
Okay.
Like, and I'm with you too. Like, if you're trying to just redirect your attention, go ahead and do your thing. Like, the Trojan horse method has never failed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, present something as a gift, but then the next thing you know, like, this is how I'm going to win my war. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like,
Dang.
I respect it. I respect it. I respect it 1,000. I respect it tenfold. But again, the person who has the long game in mind, the person who looks at this action as a brick, and soon all of these bricks
Hmm.
are going to stack up, and then I'm going to build my fortress. I'm going to build whatever it is that I'm going to build the thing that houses my spirit in. Like, my spirit is going to be housed in my agency.
Mm.
Like, I want my spirit to be housed in my
I
actions.
love that.
So when someone wants to discover the spirit of Maurice, when someone wants to get to know who Rich is, like, you will be able to look at every action, every agency I have taken in my life and see the fortress that I have surrounded my essence with. Like, I've created a metaphysical body through the things that I have done in my life.
Because it's not a business, man. You're a
The business,
business man.
man. But no, man, I definitely want to thank Nicole for coming out and talking with me today, talking to y'all today. She dropped so many gems, dropped so many jewels. This podcast will be coming out soon. You know, when it meets you guys' ears, I definitely hope you engage with us and let us know what you think. Let us know your opinions, good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter. The only truth is discourse. You know, the only thing that exists is the things that we talk about and the things that we make relevant. And I definitely pray that conversations like this become just as relevant as the other conversations that's being had around us, man.
Let's talk about 50-50.
50-50. Oh, boy.
Views go through the roof.
On the next episode,
You want attention, huh?
peace,
So that
love, and
50-50
positivity, everybody. Thank you. Love.